The guy that I met for to maybe help him start a property management division texted me back saying when would be a good time to come to the office and like meet his team. So that's good.
Okay. Yeah, that's good.
The first question I have would be, what would you do differently if you were starting a property management company today?
Learn marketing.
Marketing?
Because, I mean, and, you know, I think the main thing, though, and I see a lot of companies, like, that are successful that don't necessarily have a big advertising budgets. I'm not talking about, like, learning how to go out and do a bunch of expensive stuff. Actually, two things. I would immediately do videos, and I would immediately figure out organic marketing, like setting up a seminar with real estate agents to go into brokerages, or going to RIAs, which is real estate investment associations, things like that.
So how how would you go about doing that? Like,
well, I mean, number one, I would just immediately start with some videos. Your first video can just be a simple introduction. Hey, I own a property management company. A little, 1 minute video, just kind of as get your face out there, what the name of your company is, if you're going to specialize in anything, or what's your niche. And then I would just start creating videos for both tenants and owners that, I would go to Google and type in top 20 owner concerns when hiring a property management company. And I would do 20 videos based on the top 20 concerns to address those concerns and tell people how we handle those things and why they don't need to worry. I would go and look at the top 20 tenant things. Why? Because there's one truth in today's market. Now, here's the thing. You asked me if I'd do over. I wouldn't have done it over back then because we didn't have the internet. But since we have the internet, the number one truth is that it's about 80% of all consumers buy based on video rather than written text. So you're better off to have video. And also, when you think about it, if you want to separate yourself as an expert, you teach. So most true experts teach. They go to college, they teach in their office, whatever. So if you come out and do some videos, it already sets you apart as a teacher. And again, these, you don't want them to be long. They're, as you get more advanced, you might make some longer ones, or you might do some clips and 1 minute, and then say, hey, if you want to watch the whole video, you can go watch this, and do like a short 5 minute or 8 minute training. But more than that, I think people are never going to pay attention. It also helps to develop your position on Google, because what you want when people come to your website is you want them to stay there. The longer they stay, the more Google, ranks you. So if you want to eventually move up towards the first page of property management, you'd want to have people visiting your site, and a video keeps them there for, a minute. That's a good amount of time. Most people hit a website and they're off of it in 10 seconds. So, definitely learning, choosing like 2 or 3 things that I'm going to do, and I'm going to do them all the time that would market and get my name out there. But definitely videos, and again, you don't have to make them fancy. I think the more organic they are, the more real they are, the better. I don't think you need to do a lot of photoshopping and a ton of editing. I think just being a real person is, kind of what people want. And the first ones are going to suck like everybody's, but you'll eventually get pretty good at it after you do 20 and 50 and 100 of them.
And what was...
I would just get disciplined to do a video a week minimum.
What was the thing you said about like doing seminars at brokerages?
Yeah, so what I would do it again. These are things I haven't done, so they're very intelligent things to do. It's just that I was blessed to have grown a company to the level I wanted to through some other methods. Mainly I bought out my mentor, or not my mentor, but my previous broker, and that was how I kind of jumped into a great position.
Yeah.
And then I just was able to grow from there because of clients that I had that were accumulating more units. Well, we're in a different market right now. A lot of people aren't buying, so you got to go up. The other thing I would absolutely, again, it would all be about acquisition of clients, because when you're starting out, your race is to get to like 50 units so you can quit your other job if you have one, or you can make enough revenue to hire a part-time assistant, because the first goal, I don't know if you ever heard this, but there's a saying that says never work below your pay grade.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you can start going out and generating 4 leads a month, and that you can do that consistently and bring them on and get them to come, you'll eventually start going from being a $15 an hour person to a 20, to a 25, to a 30. Like right now, when I bill myself out, like I consult with one of my former clients. I don't manage for him, but he still has me consult a couple hours a week. I charge him $175 an hour. So I'm not charging like attorney wages, but I'm charging him for my expertise. And I'm kind of, well, how did I come up with that number? I took my general average salary, multiplied it by 40 times 52 weeks, and came up with my hourly based on that, which I think is reasonable. It's probably technically actually closer to probably $200 an hour, but, you got to know your worth, but you also don't want to be like, you don't want to be telling people I'm worth $200 an hour when you don't know your head from your elbow.
Yeah.
So you have to earn those, those things, and I'm not saying, hey, don't push hard, but so I think, it's all comes down to, well, I just started, I got to get people to call my phone, and I've got to close deals.
Mm-hmm.
Probably the other thing is probably studying some closing techniques that are not aggressive, but I don't know if you're familiar with terms, the certain sales terms, or how much you study it, but it's like, you got to be able to handle rebuttals. You've got to be able to have sound answers to those rebuttals, and you got to keep moving them towards the close. And you've got to, keep moving them towards running out of rebuttals, so that at the end of the conversation, you can say, okay, well, this was a concern of yours. We addressed that, and you agreed that I'm going to handle it the way you want, this and this. So since you don't have any more objections, let's sign the contract. One of the biggest things that salespeople fail to do is ask for the deal. And in today's world, it's not really sales. It's actually just great customer service. When they call you, how did you answer the phone? Always match people. Like, you're kind of how would I say it? Your presence on the phone is kind of like just straight even. It's not, accentuated, or, so if you have somebody call you that's excitable, you probably want to train yourself to be more excitable.
Yeah.
If you call somebody that talks really fast, you probably want to learn to talk a little faster. If you have somebody that calls and talks really slow, you want to do that. Why? Because you kind of got to match people where they're at.
Yeah.
So these are little training things that you can study, get some books or some great videos on sales, but not trying to get you to be like a hard closer, and like a used car salesman type. No, your goal in property management is to build long-term, lasting relationships. Because once you get, like I told you, once you get one of these owners under contract, unless you just really suck, you'll keep them forever.
Yeah.
And that's really not heard of in most businesses. So your goal is to get them under contract, show them that you can do what you said you're going to do, and keep them there for 25 years.
Yeah. That's the goal. How do you stay up to date with changes in like rules and regulations that like change between like landlords and tenants and property managers?
Get a good law firm that you trust that's in this industry, which, I can give you a few. Probably I would actually tell you to go check out Harry Heist, Harryheist. His website is called evict.com. He's actually over, I think, in Naples, but he does all of Florida. He's probably known as one of the top knowledge-based guys who will keep you out of trouble. He's a little conservative to my liking. I like to take a little more risk because I've been doing it a while, but when you first get into it, I think there's nothing wrong with being conservative.
Yeah.
Even though, to be honest with you could probably be more aggressive because if somebody sued you, you'd have nothing to give them, so it wouldn't really matter.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I probably have a lot more to lose. I don't know, but I'm just assuming I have a lot more to lose than you do if I get sued. So, maybe getting conservative when you have more. But I think Harry's a little too conservative, like I said, but he's not wrong. He's just very conservative.
Yeah.
But you can check out his website. He has a ton of free resources.
What's his website again?
I think it's just evict.com.
Got it.
And if he ever is doing any training or anything, I highly recommend going to it because he'll give you a nice big handout with all of his documents. But he's very good at giving away his stuff for free, so you can go on and get forms and leases and stuff. And the other thing too is there's only two options for you once you're licensed. You either have to use what's called the FAR bar kind of appointed lease, which I don't like because it's too tenant friendly in my opinion. Your job is to protect the owner, as we talked about.
Mm-hmm.
Or you can have an attorney create a lease. So Harry has a lease that is he's created, and you can kind of take things in and out of it. But you pay him a little bit of money, but then he is the one that created the lease and backed it for you. So you just got to be a little careful of that because if you use an attorney lease, there are some rules around that. Whereas if you just use the FAR bar, then you just can use it with not much concern, but they charge like a fee, I don't know, $50 or $99 to sign off on the lease or whatever if you have them do it, but it's not a bad thing. Again, I mean, I think staying clear on the law, obviously too, you should be educating yourself before. You should absolutely be reading chapter 83 and know it like the back of your hand. Florida chapter 83 governs landlord-tenant law, especially subsection 2, which is like tenant relationships. The other ones are like, because there's 3 parts to it. One's like self-storage, and I can't remember what the other one is, but but basically you're probably going to want to definitely know section 2. You're definitely going to want to, which you can take through your realtors associations, or you can take them free online. You're going to want to take and understand fair housing rules. Those are definitely key. What are protected classes? All that really matters. And then to some point, you're going to need to get down to your local jurisdictions and know what your cities are up to. Do they require a license? Because I've had clients that have gotten burned by not having a rental license and cost them tens of thousands of dollars because if you don't have one and you didn't, this client had moved and didn't update their address. They lived like out of the area, and when they finally found out, they owed $300,000 on a property that was worth $180,000. They settled it, but they still had to pay $15,000, which is a ton of money. So you gotta kind of know your local, city, state, federal rules because federal trumps everything generally, but you have to make sure you also know your municipality rules.
Yeah. What are some of the? You said there was like not issues, but struggles, I guess you can say, sometimes with using attorney lease instead of the state lease?
Well, you just have to be careful that you're not acting like an attorney. So the biggest thing is you're a real estate agent. You have a limited scope of work. So sometimes attorney or real estate agents have gotten a little too much into writing clauses and, making, kind of working on the fly because they don't want to spend the money to have their attorney. It's actually a felony to, do the duties of another profession. So you don't want to do that. You might want to put in your management contract, hey, there's a $50, if you decide to go with Harry and interview him and like him, there's there's a $50 lease fee. You can pass it on to the tenant, you can pass it on the owner, you can absorb it as a company, as a cost, but then somehow make it up somewhere else. Those are all options, but, the easiest thing is to use the FAR bar, but I also think it makes you kind of a rookie because I don't think you're really protecting your client.
Yeah.
Yeah. But with that said, a lot of people use it.
Yeah.
So I just think that I think that if you get a lease created that absolutely protects your owner while being fair to the tenant, it's not about never taking, I'm never trying to take advantage of anybody, but let's face it, my job is to protect the owner. That's who I'm contracted with. I have to want to make sure the lease is written not to the tenant's favor, and most leases that are written by any government agency are going to be tenant friendly because unfortunately, governmentally, I guess my opinion is we like to make victims out of people. I don't look at a tenant as a victim to a landlord.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody has the opportunity to be a landlord, in my opinion, if they apply themselves.
Yeah.
If you want to. I mean, that's one thing that I'll argue with people all day. Even in this crazy market, if you really want to go out and buy a piece of real estate and you made it a 10-hour-a-week commitment to really learn it and do it, you buy a property in a year. You figure it out because you don't always have to have cash. You don't always have to have, things. So, I mean, I'm not saying that it's easy, but you'd be surprised that if you're willing to think creatively, you can get things done.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
What about, what are some of the most common challenges you face when managing properties?
I think the biggest challenge that I face right now is, staff staying consistent.
Yeah.
When you have people working for you, they sometimes slack or they take breaks. And here's the thing, you're not really present because you're dealing with properties. So, maybe they don't get the carpeting cleaned as quickly as they probably should. Or, just making sure that they're staying on top of their day-to-day is very important.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other thing that I feel is challenging, and it's not really a challenge for me anymore because I've done it so much, but is, tenants like to threaten, and that can freak some people out.
Yeah.
So I just think that, when tenants threaten me, I generally, for lack of a better way to put it, kind of just shut them down, and I just tell them, hey, I've got a retained attorney, and I'm not going to deal with you anymore. And usually that changes their attitude, because they're coming with a bad attitude, in my opinion. And so that would be kind of my position on it. Is those are two of the biggest things. Is tenants can try your patience because they're really not very patient.
Yeah. What about, how do you keep your employees, your property managers who help you, how do you keep them working at that standard of 5-star service?
Well, number one, expectation. So here's the thing. If you're a person, you have to stay consistent.
Mm-hmm.
So if they see you varying around and you aren't holding your own standards, obviously nobody's going to hold a higher standard than the person that owns the company. Number two, I believe something I heard a long time. Don't teach a lot of new things to your staff. Repetitively remind them of who you are.
Mm.
So every meeting, have meetings. Don't be lazy about meetings, but you don't want to over meeting them. I'm talking one meeting a week for 30 to 45 minutes, go over logistics. The other thing is I don't know if you're familiar with the term KPI. It stands for Key Performance Indicator. Some companies call it different. Mm-hmm. You have to have things that your employees know that if they do them, they've done their job.
Mm.
Now, you're not going to have a bunch of them, but you might say for your leasing staff, hey, if we rent every unit within 45 days in this market, you've done your job, and I would consider you to be, an asset to the company, and you've really succeeded. And it may even get you a bonus. If you, got us one review on Google this month, because as a management company, you generally don't get a ton of reviews, so you want to keep that lower. Google will blackball you. But I'm just saying, you're going to set 3 to 5 things that each job position has as a key performance indicator. And you can Google, hey, what are some of the top key performance indicators for a leasing agent and property management? And AI is probably going to come up, or you're going to have some other management company come up. never forget that a lot of things are free on the internet, and so you can go to websites. Maybe mine isn't the best right now because I haven't structured it in the last couple of years because I really haven't been trying growing. But you could go to type in the name Todd Breen, property manager. He's up in Jupiter. He's generally lives internationally now, but you go to his website, he's going to have a copy of his management agreement. He's going to have a copy of his lease. You go to evict.com, you're going to get hundreds of forms that you can just, use, potentially. There's so many resources out there, so don't be afraid to go. But ultimately, you want to then turn them into your own mission statement, your own style, and also the culture you want to be. Like I said, Checkers makes money, but I don't eat there very often. If I'm going to say that anybody's kind of the cream of the crop in fast food, it'd be Chick-fil-A, because their food is generally very consistent, but their service is always generally exemplary. I can go anywhere in the country and I'm going to kind of get that, hey, how may we serve you attitude.
Yeah.
You gotta decide who you are, but then you got to become it first, and then you can teach it to others. Mm-hmm. And then you can't be afraid to hold accountability. Some little tips. There's an old saying that I live by, which sometimes I've gotten away from, and it's cost me. Hire for attitude, train for skill. Mm. When you're a single dude and you're starting a company and you want to make that first hire, you're already probably busy, you probably got a lot on your plate, and you're probably going to want to go out and hire experience.
Yeah.
That can work, but most of the time when I've hired experience and I haven't paid enough attention to their attitude, it's burned me greatly. Sometimes when you hire experience, you get all the other company's issues. Mm. So sometimes, and what that means is you're going to hire for attitude and train for skill is you have to have time to be able to carve and sit down and put together a training program that's going to make them successful. Nothing worse for new employees, because here's the truth, Matthew, most people are not capable of thinking on their own. Most base level employees, most middle management work from a recipe. They're not chefs.
Mm. They need to be told what to do.
So when you expect somebody that you hire that's an admin to think for you or think like you, you're screwed. They can't. They won't, and you'll just frustrate them and they'll leave.
Yeah.
So learn this in life. It's not a greater, I'm greater because of one or the other. Most people are doers and some people are thinkers. But most people are just doers.
Yeah.
They rarely take time or even have the capacity to think and conceptualize. The other thing I think is, treating them well. Be flexible. They've got, in my opinion, I'm very flexible. They have someone, in the family who gets sick, let them have some time off. If they want to, holiday weekends, let them take Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday off for Thanksgiving and let them have an extended weekend. Like, be considerate, and sometimes that means you have to step in and take that role for a day, but it goes a long way when you give people those little extras. Around the 4th of July, if it's ever on a Thursday, I always give my team the 5th off. Just little things like that some companies don't.
Yeah.
And here's the truth. Generally, if you really are honest during the times I just mentioned, who's really looking for an apartment on the day after Thanksgiving or the day after the 4th? Not very many people. During to be honest with you, after Christmas or after the 24th of, basically the 24th of December, my team is only required to work as needed. I pay them 40 hours, but if they can keep my tenants happy and my owners happy and nothing's falling behind, I let them work as little or as much as they need to all the way through December 31st. But then January 2nd, after they come out of New Year's, I expect them to kill it because that's peak season for us in Florida usually.
So now, how do you...
I guess, other thing is never ask somebody to do something you wouldn't.
Yeah.
So, if you see me walking around my property this day, I'm going to be the first one to pick up garbage. I'm going to be the first one to go grab a doggy bag and pick up some dog doo-doo. I'm not going to walk around like I've earn something because my name says CEO. I'm gonna show them by example, and I think that's a key component to leadership. Is, are you willing to lead by example or just talk?
Yeah. So, but how do you
another
like?
Great book. It's an old book, but I still recommend reading it. 1 Minute Manager.
Okay, what's that about?
It's a book by a guy named, I'm drawing a blank now because it's been a while. It's an older book, like I said, but it's basically you should be able to manage in a minute. You know, and probably one of the main things that people teach is what's called the constructive sandwich. So, like, you know, let's say today you were an employee of mine and you forgot about the meeting. I wouldn't come in and blast you about being late. I'm going to address it because it has to be addressed.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd come in and I'd say, hey, Matthew, you know, you really killed it last week. You got that unit turned over quickly, and we got that tenant, and the owner's super happy, and they said you were super communicative. Great job. I really appreciate that. And I would like to briefly talk about the fact that, hey, you were late to the meeting today, and I understand there's an oversight, but, you know, we tend to build like character in all areas. So even though it may seem okay to slip with the meeting today because we're just training you, it's probably going to lead you slipping with a client, maybe even with your wife or whatever. I'm just throwing, you know, things out there, role playing. But, you know, so we got to kind of stop that. And I just want to let you know, hey, I know you got this. I know you're great. I know this is just a little glitch, but let's not let that happen again. You know, you kind of come in with a positive, you deal with the constructive feedback, you end with a positive. That's generally how management is supposed to work. But you also keep it short, concise. There's no emotions. There's no anger. There's no frustration. You know, I mean, sometimes you got to kind of get on people a little bit, but not in a crazy way. But, you know, it's just you got to hold that accountability. Yeah. They will, unfortunately, test you. And if you let them move the standards, they probably will. Mm-hmm. You know, so, but you know, like I said, and lead by example, which early on absolutely should be the way it is anyway, because you're the only one that's figured it out, right?
Yeah. What about, like, you said you give people time off? What if a issue comes up on, like, a day where people are off?
I'm sorry, say that again. I kind of had a brain lapse for a second. Go ahead.
So, you said, like, you'll give people days off for, like, after holidays or whatever. But what happens if, like, an issue comes up at that time or, like, at 2 a.m.? How do you deal?
I mean, early on, you could structure. So here's the thing. You could right out the gate structure a handyman or a plumbing company, and you probably should, to take your emergency calls. So you would provide your tenants. So with an emergency number, hey, if you have a toilet backup and it's your only toilet, that's an emergency, call Joe's Plumbing. And Joe will directly handle it. Joe and you have kind of talked about what the pricing is. You've already agreed to it, blah, blah. That would be one example. You know, but also if you generally your employees are the ones that take that call, well, you would. I mean, like I said, you got to show them, hey, I'm willing to take that call on a Friday after Thanksgiving. You know, I'm not too cool.
Okay. What about, like, how is your management structure, I guess? Like, does one manager have designated properties, or is it these tasks come up and they get dished out to people?
So right now I don't have a manager because I think I told you I let go of my biggest client last December. And so I parted ways with my property manager. I'm running kind of the thing behind the scenes, and I have 3 team members that run the day-to-day because our portfolio isn't big enough to really warrant a full-time manager. But when I did have a manager, there's 2 ways you can do it. You can do it departmental, or you can kind of have them take over kind of a bunch of areas. You know, that's kind of up to you. You know, I was basically had a property manager who oversaw, you know, did oversee everything, but had a team that kind of handled. So I had a leasing person that handled leasing. I had a maintenance person coordinator that handled maintenance. I had inspections person that handled inspections and things like that. So, like, that's more departmental, or you can go out and, you grow 50 doors and then you go out and say, I'm going to get a business development manager hired. I'm going to go and get them brought on. Maybe you're going to send them to get training at the company. I think I probably mentioned to you that's in Boca. And once they come on, I'm going to, they're going to handle the owners, the tenants, the work orders, the maintenance, and everything. And for, till they grow it to whatever saturation point they can't handle, they're going to get to do all that.
All right. Let me see. I don't really have any more questions.
Okay. All right. Well, good. Let me know how your visit goes with. So I guess the question is do you have your real estate license?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so you got that taken care of, so that's good. Let me know how it goes with that company. I was thinking about it a little bit. I don't have a big need for more employees right now, but I mean, I guess if you wanted to, stick your nose in some things and, come hang out and see what I do, maybe one thing that would also help you is I'm going to be doing some consulting for my former client, and it's, like I told you, it's a little lower end property. It needs a lot more, focus.
Yeah.
Again, I'm just saying, if things don't move forward the way you want, let me know,
I will. I will definitely keep my options open.
So,
I would definitely be interested, like maybe if things don't work out with the other company, maybe helping you on like the marketing side, trying to set up like because I know you don't really do much marketing, maybe helping you come up with like Facebook ads or social media ads or cold calling marketing, like a marketing funnel somehow.
Yeah, I mean, that's something we can definitely talk about. Like I said, I just, right now I'm kind of at a crossroads, and I kind of told you that. Like, if somebody was hungry and came in and said, hey, I want to build, I want to build a company. I'm young. Like, say you're young and you show that you're really hungry. I want to grow something. I want to take it bigger. I want to have 1,500 doors or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
Ultimately, then that's who I'm kind of looking for to mentor, because, unfortunately, people that I've hired kind of even said, yeah, I'm going to kill it. And I'm very transparent. I'm like, hey, this means you're going to come in and you're going to kind of run it like it's yours, and it will be yours over time. But what you have that you don't have is you have money and resources and advertising budgets and other team members right out the gate. Whereas if you go and start today, it's just you.
Mm-hmm.
And unless your dad gave you $100,000 or something to go start a company, well, then it's just you. And so now you got to pay for you, and you got to put money away, and it could take you 5 years. Whereas you come work with me, you're going to start out with a budget, to work with. You're going to start out with resources, softwares, everything. And then in the same 5 years, you'll probably grow it past where you would have been on your own by far, but not have to go through all of the headaches of that. And my whole goal is ultimately to have someone that it's kind of like, hey, year one, you're probably not going to get any ownership, but you'll get bonus or whatever based on performance.
Mm-hmm.
Year two, if everything goes well and you want to keep going, then in year two we probably set up like a profit sharing, and then ultimately an ownership platform over maybe 5 or 10 years where you fully go from zero ownership to 100% ownership or something like that. That's kind of something that I've really, again, I'm not going to go waste thousands of dollars to have my attorneys draw up something unless I know somebody's serious about it. I was supposed to do it with my manager that left last December, but after 2 years of her kind of telling me that she wanted to become a co-owner and all that,
mm-hmm.
she just kind of flaked out on me, And sometimes people just don't know what they want. That's the hard part about it.
Yeah.
That's why you and I talked, I think, a little bit about goal setting. If you don't set goals, you're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
It's just that simple. You have to have something in writing. It has to be measurable. And it has to be attainable, but not easy.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to look at it every day, and you then have to action step backwards. Okay, I set a goal. How do I get there?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and if you don't do that, if you don't goal set, if you don't sit down and look at your goals, if you don't plan that way, your life's going to change very little over the next 6 months.
Yeah.
You know, and so that's kind of it. Is I'm probably being a little more selective. Like now, I really want to. If I brought somebody on in that capacity, it'd be like, okay, you're willing to do whatever it takes for the company. You're willing to be mentored. You're willing to go to the classes I tell you. You're willing to invest in these things with some of your own money. Because the other thing I've also found, Matthew, is if you don't invest in yourself, you consider yourself worthless.
Yeah.
You know, and so many people want other people to invest in them, but that isn't the way it works. You have to invest in you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't care where you're getting money from. You should always be taking the first 10% and putting it towards a new book to read that's going to improve you, a new training, something that's going to take you and make you better in some way that's going to make your future different and also make you a better person and a better human being. And a lot of people don't do any of that.
Yeah.
They just wake up, they go through the same motions, they go to a job they hate, they come home and, you know, for lack of a better way to put it, jump on their video games and smoke weed and talk to some dude in Bangladesh on, you know, some video show, and then they go back to bed and do it over. Well, that's okay. I mean, again, if they're happy and they're content, one thing that I believe in, if you're happy and content where you're at, God bless, stay where you're at, do what you're doing. But I find most people aren't happy where they're at. They'd like to have more income. They'd like to have some investments. They'd like to have some resources. But all those extras take effort.
Yeah.
And if you don't want to put in the effort, like nobody's going to show up on Christmas Day and hand you a investment property.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to hand you another client. It just doesn't happen. You have to go out and you have to pursue these things with consistency. I would say that's the bigger key too. I'll leave you with today. Consistency over quantity. Like, be consistent every day that you're doing, you know, 4 hours of things that are going to get you to where you want to go. Better than working 10 hours and it really just doesn't produce any fruit.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because we can absolutely, especially men, I think they have this character. We like to kill things. There's an old saying where, you know, originally we were hunters or whatever, so we like a job to be done. That's the way most men are wired. So if I start something, a project, I want to finish it.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem is you can do a lot of projects and feel productive but never get anywhere because it was the wrong project. So always make sure that you're paying attention to where you're putting your time.
Yeah.
And making sure that that time is not just productive and not checking off a box, but it's actually leading to where you say you want to go, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I definitely think, you know, goal setting, if you haven't done it, is huge. Like, hey, I want to have 50 doors by whatever. I want to have 100 doors by this. I want to have my first assistant hired in 18 months. If you write them and you set them down and then you, like I said, you backstep them to where you're at today, you'll hit them.
Yeah.
It's proven over and over. Every time I've goal set or I've made my team's goal set, which I wish would have been every month, they've hit them. It's just that, like most people, I tend to get a little lazier on my own goal setting or my team goal setting. Always have your team striving to be something that they weren't yesterday, just like yourself. Because what you'll find out is some people are always going to be doers, but you can get their efficiencies up to the highest level. They're never going to be your head managers. They're never going to be able to think through things and improve on processes. But they're absolutely able to get more efficient, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
trying to make them better.
Anyway, go with that. I got to grab this call from a contractor, so we'll wrap up for the day. But, you know, just keep in touch, and you can always text me in between.
I will. Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thanks, man. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, stay tuned for more. I can't wait to see where this goes.